I think for a long time, the narrative and the advocacy against FGM left men outside because was always seen as a women's issue. And I think that also affected our campaign in ending the practice. But now, in almost all countries in Africa that are doing work on FGM are recognizing the significant role. Yes, actually, engaging men and boys in ending FGM is really, really crucial. I'll give you an example within my family. My niece, who is the first in my extended family not to be caught, when I started speaking up and saying to my family she shouldn't be caught, it took my brother to come up and support my stance for her not to be caught. So I have seen in my family that even with my voice, it was still a struggle. But as soon as my brother came in and said, agree with Fatou and that my daughter shouldn't be caught, that was all it took. Yeah, so I recognize the role that men can play in ending FGM. I think for a long time, the narrative and the advocacy against FGM left men outside because FGM was always seen as a women's issue. And I think that also affected our campaign in ending the practice. But now, in almost all countries in Africa that are doing work on FGM are recognizing the significant role. So for example, our organizations, we talk with men and boys. Our advocacy and our awareness raising involve talking to men and boys, talking to religious leaders who in my context are usually just men, but also talking to community leaders. So what you see in our structures, the hierarchy is all led by men. So we cannot have an effective change if we do not bring them on board. But also because of the silence and the taboo around FGM, most Gambian men until the past few years didn't really get engaged and didn't talk about FGM. So, when you don't speak about something, when you don't acknowledge the harm, then you don't realize the severity. So I think that space is definitely opening up and conversations and awareness raising is reaching men there. And I think that's what is really important, that FGM is not just seen as a women's issue or just a culture and tradition. FGM should be seen in the broader lens of this is a form of violence against girls. Usually when girls are caught, they are babies, they are young girls who cannot consent to having their genitalia cut, and it has complications. So when we look at FGM as a form of gender-based violence, as a form of violence against children, and as an issue of sexual and reproductive health, then we can move forward rather than just looking at it as a cultural, traditional practice.
So it's very important that especially younger men get engaged.
Yes.